Hello. Can you hear me? I still don't know what I'm doing quite yet, so forgive me for that. Hi CPM, how's it going, bud? I'm good. Pleased to hear it. I got a glass of rum. Can you hear me, yeah? Hello? Okay, thank you. All right, well, hi everyone. Thank you for coming. I appreciate that. I thought what we would do is we'll just hang around for like another minute and let a couple more people get in here. I think we're pretty close to. Yeah, this is good enough for me, I think. So I think what we'll do is I prepared like a little. I wanted to go through the charts because I've kind of had the day off today, so I thought I'd click through a few charts because I haven't really been paying attention to them. And then from there, I guess we'll just hang out and we'll freestyle it, right? So. Oh, you all are too kind. I appreciate every single one of you. I really do. It means the world. I can't believe we're at 5k subs. Okay, so I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to ignore the comments for 2 seconds. So I want to run through some charts. And then once we've done that, we'll hop into the chat and we'll take it from there. So without further ado, it looks to me like you guys have probably noticed this. I haven't been paying attention today. The dollar, is that the deviation? That's the big question on my mind, right? Is that the deviation? Does this lead to the yellow squiggle playing out? And more importantly, does that mean we get to mark this as the 3-year cycle low, targeting that mid-90s range that we've been targeting since the top? I also noticed if you zoom all the way out like this and grab a trend line from here, right? We just so happen to have run right into resistance right here. So I'm really wondering if that is it. I'm really wondering if we're going to get to see this thing roll over. And of course, if we do, big risk on moment in the stocks and Bitcoin. Bitcoin still looks great. I imagine it does. So happy days there. And the crypto related equities, 187 for Coinbase. So happy days as well. Yeah, all of these kind of fly in. So that's nice. I'm noticing oil right into that neighborhood. So if this can roll over, then I'm still going to be looking for shorts for oil. And here's gold. So notice how gold, we got a counter trend bounce out of that daily cycle low, but I expect this thing to left translate and break down, and then me looking for short somewhere in this neighborhood. So that's nice to see. And then of course we've got that daily and weekly cycle low in focus down here. How's the stock market looking? Still above our supports, right? But we are getting a little bit stretched in the daily cycle. So what day are we on? Let's see. This is currently day 29. 40 days average, but given that we had a longer cycle from here, right? This is a 46, 47 day cycle. It's reasonable to expect this one to come in a little bit short. So I wonder if we're going to see that this week come in. Nasdaq still holding support, happy days. Dow Jones, yeah, so pushing the trade, right? Remember when we were in here in the middle of the week, I was saying it'd be a good idea to give this a little bit more space to see if it recovers. Well, so far it has, so happy days there. Being Friday, they come out and crush the VIX every Friday during VIX Crush Friday. And of course, today is no different. So they come out and short this thing into oblivion. So that's good to see. And the Russell 2K starting to do Russell 2K things, right? Held that support, which is what I wanted to see. Back above the range break in blue now. So really, really positive and encouraging signs, I would say, across the board there. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we should be quickly looking at. Not really. I think that XRP trade is just kind of hanging around there as well. So overall, I think it's been a pretty good week, right? I think it's been pretty good to sit back and kind of just not get too in the way of, getting in the way of my own trades, right? Not try to shoot myself in the foot too much. And I think that's worked, right? Like I was saying in the week at some point, I was saying that you can fall into this trap of wanting to overtrade or wanting to do too much, and there's really no need for that, right? When everything is above support, when the trades are working, the best thing you can do is just sit back and let them work. So I'm glad we've done that. Obviously, I'll be doing a weekend's deep dive tomorrow as always, and I'll be putting out a video for the members. I'm just taking a look at some comments. So thanks for coming, I really appreciate it. I've got myself a rum to celebrate. Thank you for all the nice messages. Yeah, hit the like button. That will help out. How's it marking short, Ben? Yeah, good shout, good shout. I think it's doing okay. We are kind of getting this counter trend bounce. Oh, this yellow squiggle is from a property market. Every 6 months I put out a property market video, like a deep dive. I've just recorded another one that's going to be coming out in the not too distant future. And I was saying, unless that happens, then most probably this is going to continue to play out. So, you know me, I'm a breakout trader, right? If we break out like that yellow squiggle just suggested, if we do something like this, then I'm wrong and we're resuming an uptrend, a macro uptrend move, right? But for now, it's contained under resistance. I don't really see why it doesn't do this. And although fractals, I'm not really a big fractal guy. If I flip this onto the weekly time frame, I'm sure you've seen this before. This right here comes from the GFC, right? The 2008 meltdown. And it's not too dissimilar from in here. So I'm not necessarily saying it's going to plunge or I expect it to plunge, but do I expect it to kind of work its way down here? Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all. And like I was saying, I was doing a sort of deep dive video, and in that deep dive video that I do roughly every 6 months, it's kind of hard to make the argument that things have improved since the last time I did one of those videos. So I kind of expect this to continue to the downside. If you're long on gold since 1822, should you take profit? Well, I can't tell you what to do, but as I've been saying for some time now, I am looking for shorts. And the reason being, right, is even though I'm long-term bullish on gold, the cycles, right, the weekly cycles are marked in blue here and here. So if I click onto a weekly chart, we should be able to see that. This is a pretty messy chart, I appreciate that. But there's a clear weekly cycle low here, and we're due this one, which is the perfect number of weeks and daily cycles away, around the 25th of March. So given that we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, now looking for that 5th daily cycle for gold, it tells me that, like I said, and like I've been saying for some time, we're probably going to get a counter and bounce that left translates for this daily cycle, meaning that we've probably got a maximum of another 3 or 4 days of upside, possibly to touch and retest the underside of this upward sloping red support. And then I think it's going to roll over. And because this is a weekly cycle low that's due, I would expect this decline to be significantly more than these other declines into the daily cycle lows. So I'm not telling you what to do. That's just my idea. And like I said, if we can get this kind of yellow squiggle to play out, then I'll be looking to add a short in here. Because number one, there's nothing to say this is going to go this low, but it could certainly go much lower than that. But number two, if we really are going to have this sort of risk on moment, and if we really are going to see Bitcoin and the stocks really go to the moon, like that has been the expectation, then it's always possible that we get this kind of decline down here and then a daily cycle followed by a failed daily cycle into another weekly cycle low. So it could set gold up for another full weekly cycle of decline. Now, if we were to do something like this, I would really expect that to be the moment where that gold to Bitcoin chart plays out, which is, let me pull this up for you. I'm sure you've probably seen this before. This one right here. So as Bitcoin is starting to get really, really bullish, if gold is going to make a weekly cycle low and then possibly even one more weekly cycle low after that, that would kind of bring this fractal into fulfillment. And thus, with gold significantly lower than where it is and with Bitcoin significantly higher, that would give us a nice exit from Bitcoin into gold, in my opinion. Yeah, Alex, I could see the miners correcting, but at the same time, they're miners, right? That's what they do. They go ballistic. So maybe ETH Bitcoin going to be a nice trade. Is it? Let's have a look. Goodness me. Yeah, at some point, if it can break out, right, my scale's all out of whack at the moment, but if it can break out of here, then yeah, probably ETH is going to outperform. But I'll have to see it to believe it, to be honest, Sean. Thank you, Lifeversity. How long until the Bitcoin ETF passes gold? Probably some time, I would have thought. What do we need? Well, at least for market cap, we're going to need 9 trillion-ish for Bitcoin. And what are we at now? Probably just over 1 trillion. probably around that neighborhood. Can I check out hood stock? I can check out hood stock. Leaving behind a big range. That's the first thing that catches my eye, right, in this neighborhood here. So, yeah, there's definitely a thesis for a trade there, right? On a breakout. What is this? Am I in log scale? Ah, that's why. Okay. So, yeah, there's a thesis for a trade probably below this blue box, maybe in here. And then way higher, I guess, if we are indeed going to have a big melt up. But like I was saying right at the start of today, given where we are with the S&P, we're not that far away now from expecting to see a decline into a daily and possibly a weekly cycle, or there might be one more daily cycle into that weekly cycle afterwards. So I'd be cautious about loading up on stocks here, but that is, of course, a valid setup and breakout. Yeah, we can get a Bitcoin up squiggle for sure. 9 trillion easy. Does anyone know what the price would have to be to get to 9 trillion? Is it... my maths is about right, I would think 270 to 80k. Is that about right? Oh, CPM, I didn't go fishing as it goes. I didn't go fishing. I drank a little bit too much wine on Valentine's Day, and then my brother wasn't feeling up to it either, so I didn't actually end up going fishing. I am not a Muslim. Not that I got anything against Muslims. If I sell the Bitcoin for gold, will I need to purchase and store hundreds of ounces? How am I planning to store those? I mean, it depends, doesn't it? It depends on your situation. I would want to store the physical gold personally. I wouldn't really trust an ETF or whatever. But obviously, if you don't have the means to store it, or multiple houses or whatever, and a place to diversify that, or, you know, if you live in a high crime rate area or whatever, then it's probably not for you. It's 450k, 9 trillion, is it? Could we do that this cycle? I mean, we'd need a lot to go. We need a lot to go our way, I think, to see 450k. If it continues the way it's continuing towards left translation, then I don't think we're going to see 450. But there is an idea. Let me pull up this chart right here and go log. I tell you what I could see. I need to go weekly time frame. Let me grab this. I could see potentially if we were to get some kind of, and I mean this is probably a bit extreme to be honest, but maybe if we're going to get some kind of big blow off top like this, and then like a double pump, then maybe we could get up in that neighborhood. I mean, we'd be close to gold's market cap if this was to play out, and that would come as early as the halving. So would that be the post-halving sell-off and then another rip? I mean, that seems pretty insane. I don't know if we can do that. Maybe we can, maybe we can't. There's another possible outcome if I grab this one. I don't know where we'll fit it from. Again, we're not overly dissimilar from that at the moment. That puts us at over 500,000, and that would be just about right translated, wouldn't it? So I don't know, man. It's Bitcoin, right? It always does what you don't think it can do. So it'll be interesting to see for sure. I did watch Bob Lucas's last video. He seems to be even more confused about which way it's going to go than I am, to be honest, which is nice because he's been trading cycles and in general for about twice the length of time I have. So I think so anyway. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So it's nice to know that like it's not just me that's struggling with a read, but you know what it's like in trading, right? It's right until it's wrong. And if we continue going up, whether it's as steep as that or not, I mean, already, and I've been showing this over and over again, we've arguably got our first angle there. And if we continue up like this and perhaps come back and back test this, right, we've already set the second angle. So if we do something like this and back test, or even if we were to grind our way up here and do something like this, you know, at some point, it's most probable that that third angle of attack's coming. So, I mean, how high is the real question, but that's why I like the trend lines, because if we get this third angle, and occasionally it's not out of the question to get fourth, which is almost vertical. If you get that, you know, that's super easy, because when things go straight up like that, they must come down. So that's easier to deal with. than more of a distribution top. But even the distribution top was, pretty clean on the weekly time frame. And again, we saw the same thing here. So that's why I like the trend lines, right? They give you an area on the chart around which you can manage the risk. I mean, 450k would be insane, wouldn't it? It would be insane. Maybe it could do it. 146k sounds more like the ballpark we could see, to be honest. I mean, there's not a doubt in my mind that we could do 146k. I think we could maybe do higher, a lot higher. I think we could maybe do 250 or 300, depending on how insane the pump gets. But 450 is, that's pretty high. Neither whiskey nor wine. I'm drinking spiced rum. Zen Crypto. I know you paid for it. I did cover it last time, right? I did. This is and I said, don't buy this coin because it looks terrible, right? And I'm not saying this to hate on your coin or anything. I'm just saying, wait, let me get out this weekly chart. I mean, it's really hard to, what on earth is that? Is this the right one? I mean, it just looks really bad, doesn't it? I can't really say much more than that. I mean, I guess if we're going to be as nice as we can about it, maybe there's a breakout coming. But I really don't like this look at all, to be honest with you. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about it. That's definitely something I would not want to trade or touch with a barge pole. I don't know what SOV is, no seal. How long do I think we'll trade sideways, 51 to 52? I have no idea. But it's still quite early in the cycle, in the daily cycle. So I think if I had to make a bet, I would say that it's going to be this one right here and the right-hand cycle that's correct, and we'll end up scratching off these two. If I had to bet, that's what I think is most probable. And so given where we are, assuming that count is correct, then what have we got, right? We're only on day 9 at the moment of a possible 60-day cycle. So, it could continue. I'm not saying it will, but it wouldn't surprise me if we continued all the way up to day 25 or 26 before getting that half cycle low shakeout and then running it back again. I mean, the thing is super bullish at the moment, and until something changes, it's hard for me to interpret it any differently, right? I mean, we'd have to start to do something pretty insane. We'd have to start to do this for me to become bearish. $150k is definitely reasonable. My house will be filled with gold bricks, maybe. Assuming I'm going to keep it at my house, right? Spiced rum Kraken, yep, that's the way. If Bitcoin hits 250k, what do you think Ethereum will be at the top? 2,800, maybe? Litecoin. Isn't Litecoin a dinosaur? It's a dinosaur now, right? I mean, it's just not taking part in this current rally. This is quite a good example of why I don't really mess around with altcoins. I know that people get really passionate about them. I know that many of them have done ridiculous performance this year. I know that. Or over the past 12 months, I should say. But many of these altcoins, this was my hypothesis years and years ago. All the way back, I took part in some of this. And since then, around this neighborhood, I kind of thought, you know what, it wouldn't surprise me if most of these altcoins never recover their all-time high. And now I'm not saying Litecoin won't get going, right? Maybe eventually Bitcoin gets through all-time highs and then we have this rotation into altcoins and then we get a full alt season again, just like we did here and here. Maybe that's what's coming. And so, it's going to take some months for Bitcoin to get through its all-time high. And then eventually when it does, maybe this is going to start to fire off again. But my kind of base case with altcoins is that most of them are never coming back. And so, yeah, so far, this is a pretty good illustration of that. This is kind of what I expect the majority of the charts to look like. And I'm happy to be wrong about that, and I'm happy for everyone else to make money on them, but they just don't interest me. It reminds me too much of the .com burst. Yeah, 314k. I mean, yeah, I think that would be about the upper limit I would expect to see. But I mean, maybe that's Moonboy talk, right? I've never heard of Radium, I'm afraid, Rafa. Thanks, Brendan. I appreciate it. I am going to be thinking about rotating some of mine into property, yes. Particularly if we continue to... I expect to see a bottom in property in the next 12 months. And if we see a top for Bitcoin around then, it seems like a reasonable thing. I'm not one that thinks property is a good investment, but it's better than keeping money in a bank, in my opinion. And it's better than having everything in gold. So it's certainly something I'm thinking about. For you, sis, we'll do it. Since Casper, what? This one. Whoa. Look at this, eh? I mean, looks pretty good. Not that I know anything about it. I know a lot of people get hyped about it online. This feels like it should be charted in log, to be honest. I'll do it non-log first. I mean, they're kind of difficult to deal with, aren't they? I mean, there's that, right? There's that. What else is there? Maybe put this on log, take it from there. I suspect this is going to look a bit better. Yeah, we got a better trend line, somewhere to manage the risk around. That's what I'm always looking for with these sorts of things. I mean, yeah, I would probably be thinking if it broke down from that, we're having a major shift in market structure. PPI coming hot. Well, it wasn't really surprising given that the CPI came in hot. But obviously I was wrong. I was wrong about CPI so far. So whether that turns out to be my analysis or whether it comes out later in life that the CPI is indeed falling, like I said before, I really have to just see another month, right? Another month of price action and see how those rates were priced, if at all. And then if we get to another CPI print next month and it's dropping off, right? If it's dropping off significantly, then happy days. I can continue to say, yeah, well, that's what we thought would happen. But, I mean, this is back to 1.78 now. This is still reporting not 3.1, which it should be. It should be 3.1, not 3.4. So maybe this was overly ambitious. It hasn't been wrong. I've been using it consistently for well over a year since I had the channel, and it hasn't been wrong until now. So, you know, either we've just found the bottom and we're going to start to go up and the government data is right, or, of course, you know, maybe we're going to see it start to drop like a stone at the next month. But it's difficult for me to say because, you know, it's just one data point so far. If, however, like I said, we get to next month and it's still not dropping or it's starting to creep up, then I think we're pretty much wrong about this whole expectation. And then, of course, we might have to adjust to that. Why do I think people are adhering to the diminishing returns theory? Honestly, I think they've got PTSD. I think that's what it is. I think if you were here during this, let's go back a bit. I really need a cleaner chart, don't I? Maybe use this one. It's pretty messy as well. Oh, this will work for illustrative purposes. I think what happened is, right, all the way back here, people were expecting this thing to go straight to 300k. And then when it topped at, quote unquote, only 69k, most people got wrong-footed. Then here, you know, we only just about made a new high. I think that was 65. We went to 69, and then it rolled over. And I think people just kind of thought, oh, well, you know, let's look left and see why that happened. And then they found a reason, and that reason was diminishing returns seems to be a thing. So I think that's what's going on. I think they're just kind of going, well, it always has done that in the past. Kind of similar to the right translated cycle expectation, right? Everyone kind of thinks, or has been thinking until fairly recently, that it's just going to do what it always does, which is essentially find a bear market low and then spend 3 years in a bull market before spending 12 months in a bear market. That's kind of what everyone's expecting. And I think they're also kind of expecting that with diminishing returns, just because they've been trained, right? They've been conditioned to look left and extrapolate it to the right. And that's one of the biggest reasons that I've been expecting this thing to change slightly this time around, because I think they've done well at training people to expect one certain thing to keep happening. And of course, the way you trap them all is to, you know, pull the rug, switch it up last minute. This is a good question. How much do I think Bitcoin's going to retrace now that the institutions are here and we got the ETF? I think 85% at least. That's what I think. I hear a lot of people say things like BlackRock's never going to allow the ETF to drop. You know, we're only going to get bear markets of 20 or 30% max and all of this kind of thing. And there's 2 points to make here. One is I believe that to be nonsense, because they've got plenty of ETFs that have done minus 99 or minus 95%, right? It's not like just because BlackRock has an ETF, they won't let the price go down. Their job, because it's a spot Bitcoin ETF, is to track the price of Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin is going to crash 85%, the ETF is going to crash 85%. They're not going to come in and be like, oh no, we can't let our clients lose money. Like that's not their job. Their job is to just provide an ETF that tracks the price of Bitcoin. So I don't believe in that. Another thing that people are keen to point out is we've only really had 20 or 25% pullbacks along the way up, whereas in historical bull markets, we had a bunch of 30, 40, even bigger pullbacks along the way up. And so I think people are misinterpreting this as, well, the ETFs are here, the institutions are here, they're not going to allow big drawdowns anymore. But I don't think that's what's going on. I just think there's such a strong bid under this market, there's such strong demand that buyers are stepping in to buy this thing before we even get a chance to see a 30 or 40% pullback. So that's my 2 cents on that. I don't really trade head and shoulders. They are certainly valid, but no, I don't ever use those. I don't really use measured moves either. I prefer to use trendline breakdowns. Try and find a nicer chart to look at in the meantime. They're all so messy now, aren't they? Yeah, well, Casper's done well so far. We've already done Litecoin. 160k seems reasonable, for sure. %, drawdown from 200k would put us back at 30k, and I really like that because the miner floor price, right, the average break-even price to mine 1 Bitcoin after the halving, which is less than 2 months away now, I think, is around 36k. So usually at the bear market lows, we dip just below that break-even price, which forces miner capitulation, and the mining, you know, the smaller miners, they have to be forced to close down. The hash rate gets handed over to the larger players, and then we actually find a bottom and move on from there. So if we went to 200k and had an 85% drawdown, that would put us at around 30k, which is, like I said, just below that break-even price to mine 1 Bitcoin at 36k post-halving. That makes a lot of sense to me. If we only got to, say, 150 or 160k, then maybe we only draw down 80%. So, you know, I noticed in Bob Lucas' video, he had us pulling back and had an indication or a suggestion on his chart that we would be back testing the prior all-time high as the bear market low. So does that mean that we're going to be drawing down to a bear market low price of around 70k a Bitcoin? That would be pretty wild. Thank you for all the congrats. Oh, we got a couple of the ladies in here. I like it. Yeah, it could be that everyone's waiting for a dip and the market's just not going to give it to them. But I just also think it's a product of, you know, the miner supply is basically gone, right? The miner supply is gone because the institutions are buying all of that. And even the miners have been accumulating, right? They're not selling 100% of what they mine. So the miner supply is essentially unavailable, which means there's only around 2 million coins floating around on exchanges. And at the moment, we're getting close to $1 billion a day in ETF inflows. So I think that's why we're just not seeing any pullbacks, because there's such a strong demand underneath the price. Thank you, Brian. Hi, Big Rad. Big Troll. Yeah, I did. There's a distinction to make here, right? A couple of months ago, you thought the ETF launch was going to be the top. What changed? Well, that's not entirely true, right? What I actually said was, if we get a left translated cycle top that peaks really high, right? Something like this, and then up in this all-time high neighborhood, then they launch the ETF. I said, under those conditions, I expect that to be used as a distribution tool. But what we actually saw, and I was consistent in saying this, was if we're only halfway up and then they launch the ETF, then I would suspect they use the ETF to pump the price to new highs. So I didn't really change my tune so much as I just went with the plan B out of those two. Yes, Sonic Obama. No. No, it wouldn't necessarily be off the table to see a left translated cycle top if we see CPI hot again. It would just be taking it one day at a time, and we'll see what can happen, really. That's all it is. Cadena, what on earth is that? Is that how you spell it? Looks okay, right? Kind of moving up. You got this nice place to manage your risk as well. But you know me, I'm not that into altcoins. Thanks, Bob. Will I short Bitcoin all the way down? I'm probably not going to short Bitcoin. I'll probably short the Bitcoin miners just because they're going to fall faster, and a bunch of altcoins will probably fall faster than Bitcoin as well. So I prefer to short the altcoins and the Bitcoin miners. Never heard of that. We can have a look at Solana, I guess. I mean, it's holding up here at least, isn't it? I mean, what do you do in this situation? All you can do is draw a line and hold on, right? That's all you can really do. I hope it keeps going up. I mean, there was the first sell signal given when we broke there, right? So this, I mean, this is the thing. This is the thing. This could be breakdown. You're not going to like this. Breakdown, retest, resumption lower. Could be that. Or maybe what we've got instead is this. And we're going to continue to move higher, and we set a new angle of attack, something like this. So pick your poison, I guess. Rational Biohacker, thank you very much. I don't know anything about Tau, to be honest. I know Crypto El Prez likes it. I'm pretty sure. And that's probably why. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, what is there to say, right? What is there to say? It looks good, but I don't know anything about it. I'm not an altcoin guy, really. And I mean, the question is, like, if this thing continues, is this thing going to keep holding here? Is it going to keep doing this? In which case, you can keep pushing it, right? But if it breaks down here, it's kind of difficult to say anything. Maybe this one would look better on log. I mean, it's kind of not too dissimilar, right? So, again, yeah, I mean, I'd be pushing it all the while it's above there. How high it can go. I mean, this seems like a lot of gains pretty quickly. So, yeah, that's all I got to say, really, I'm afraid. I do see it shield everywhere, yeah. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. Like I said a million times, I don't actually know what it is. But the thing is, the more something like that pumps, the happier people get with it, right? So they're going to continue to be super happy when it's had such insane performance. Thank you. No, in my opinion, it's not time to buy any gold miners right now. I know some individual miners have done well, but as I was saying earlier on, you know, we're probably getting in that neighborhood where we're going to see me start to short gold. And then the gold miners, how do they look? It's been a while since I checked in on these, but look, it's just rejecting at resistance. And that makes sense, right? Because we're not in a true gold bull market just yet. Same deal for the junior miners. Silver is kind of still the same thing, right? It's struggling. The silver miners not wanting to lead just yet. You know, at some point, there's going to be an epic trade here. At some point, gold is going to find its weekly cycle low, reverse, turn around and break its all-time high. The miners are going to break out of these multi-year declining wedges, and they're going to do, you know, 10 or more X. But you know, it's just not now. It's just not now. Now's not the time to be excited about that. We got crypto and the stocks to be excited about first. What do I think of sushi swap? I don't really know hardly anything about it, to be honest. Will I short the S&P? Yeah, and the Dow and the Nasdaq. If I'm right about a deflationary bust or even a recession, yes, I will. And it should be quite an easy setup. So zooming out, right, we've got one angle here in the bottom in red. We're kind of setting a second one. We'll probably have to find a daily or weekly cycle first, and then say it does this yellow squiggle of mine. We'll set a second angle and then a third angle, just like with Bitcoin. And we'll look to sell the top. But not only will I sell the top of the stock market, I will be looking for shorts there, because of that 4-year cycle as well. For the S&P 500, I put out a video about that about 2 weeks ago. Engine coin. Guys, I'm not really your guy for altcoins, right? We'll do Engine because I have at least heard of that. But I'm the wrong guy to ask, right? Like I don't know and I don't care about altcoins. So is this it? Looks like it. I mean, maybe it's got some epic fundamentals, but this to me, what I was just saying about Litecoin a minute ago, where I kind of expect them not to recover their all-time highs. And I don't know, again, maybe it does, right? Maybe Bitcoin breaks to all-time highs and then this thing does something like this, right? And then Bitcoin breaks all-time highs, bang. Maybe that is what's coming. But also, maybe it's pets.com, right? Maybe this is what's coming forever. So that's just why, like, I can't really get behind all these altcoins. I much prefer to play the miners, stack a few positions like we've been doing, right? Lightly leverage, move the stop up. I don't have to take hardly any risk to do this. I have 6% account risk, and if I'm right and we are about to go to all-time highs, then it's going to outperform most altcoins for sure. Father Christmas, hello mate, how you doing? You still in Cuba or Havana? Was it Havana? Short miners seems like the way to go to me. Am I going to start shorting right when I take profits? Probably, yeah. Probably will flip straight from long to short. If the setup is there, of course. I do not really think much of the election cycle, to be honest, because 2008 was kind of an election cycle as well, right? So I don't know, but also I'm so apolitical that, again, I'm kind of the wrong person to ask. I prefer to just look at the charts, right? I don't really care for headlines and stuff. Although having said that, there is some good data that backs election years doing well, but I think it's a bit of a dangerous trap to just say, well, it's an election year, so they're going to pump it, right? I mean, they might want to do that, but if something actually breaks, right, if the BTFP ends and banks collapse, then what are they going to do? And everyone says, yeah, well, they're going to turn the printers on. Yeah, fine, but usually they let things blow up and crash first, and then they print to stop it at the bottom. So either way, I do think we probably have to have a significant pullback, particularly if markets continue to go vertical, right? I mean, just this chart right in front of me, Coinbase, you know, big bottom, right? Breakout retest, now looking for resumption. It looks to me like it's party time. And it's kind of the same for MicroStrategy, right? Not to mention you've got stocks like Nvidia. Where is it? There it is. That look like this. Okay, this is things you see in a blow off top. What's that other one? SMCI maybe? Yeah, super microcomputer. I was looking at this earlier, right? I mean, look at this. Straight up. Absolutely vertical. So this is things you see in a blow off top, right? And has that just marked the top for this? Maybe. Or is it going to have some big pullback and then go one more time? That's to be determined. But it seems to me like something is going to break before too much longer. What would I recommend you do if you're under allocated? I can't really tell you what to do. It depends a lot on your personal situation. But I would tell you what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't FOMO in. I wouldn't be thinking, oh, I've missed the move, better go all in now and lever up. I would probably be thinking about dipping toes in the water day by day and taking it day by day. Because if you just start feeling FOMO and trying to get a big allocation all in one go, that's a recipe for disaster. So just still focus as if you're not under allocated. So focus on risk management, sizing your trades properly, not over leveraging. That would be the best way to go. Well done, Pepe. You did, mate. You're here. Polkadot. What is Polkadot? I've heard of Polkadot. Is that it? Yeah, dot. This is, I've seen a lot of people arguing about this. There's been a lot of infighting, right? I mean, maybe it's about to start a bull market. Maybe. Or maybe it's about to roll over and continue going sideways. So, I mean, if you zoom out, they all look terrible. And I'm not one of these people that says, well, yeah, just because it's all the way down here, must be going back to all-time highs soon, right? Not necessarily, in my opinion. Now, maybe it is, but it's not really for me. Oh, actually, having said that, my eye has just been drawn to this kind of neighborhood. So maybe if it gets above that, these are pretty good setups, right? If it gets above that, but does it? I don't know. Sheep herder, I don't think anything happens if the Fed is caught, because I think everyone already knows all the CPI is messed up, right? Everyone knows it's kind of fake. So thanks, Sparrowhawk. Appreciate it. What do I think of the Nikkei making all-time high? I don't know what to think of it. How is it that Japan enters a recession? The currency is so weak that Bitcoin hits an all-time high in it straight away, and then the Nikkei goes on to all-time highs as well. Like, none of this makes sense, right? And you've got to be focusing on the charts, because if you try and use logic or macro, I mean, that just it's not going to work in this current market. I haven't seen logic in these markets for some time now. Will I short gold or Nvidia? Wait, will I short Nvidia? No, I'm not interested in shorts yet. I just want to focus on longs. I've got plenty of exposure, and I just want to focus on getting this right. I want to make sure I'm not oversizing. I'm not getting greedy, because the thing is, it's really easy when you start to make serious money, because we're in a roaring bull market and things are going parabolic. It's really easy to start thinking you're the best in the world, right? It's really easy to lose your mind. And, you know, I've been around long enough to know that the thing to do here is just to focus on nailing down these profits and taking everything one day at a time. There's no rush, right? We're in a roaring bull market. We've done well at capturing it, but we have to continue to do well, right? Like, I have to continue to treat this like a business, not like some kind of, I don't know, gambling addict problem or something like that. I'm just sort of, I want to get it right, and I want to do the basics well, and over time that will pay. So that's not to say you couldn't short Nvidia right here, right? But it's just to say I'm not personally interested in it. I want to continue to push these longs until we see a true reversal, because if we really are in this blow off top, right, Nvidia could do 10x from here. I'm not saying it will, right? But there's nothing to say it won't. So do I want to be short something that apparently is making a hobby of blowing up shorts at the moment? It's just personally not for me. But there will come a time, right? There will come a time when I'm going to be short everything. But for now, I want to keep focusing on longs. Yeah, short on gold. I'm just waiting for this capture and bounce. It seems to be playing out over the next coming days. What do I think about US banks wanting in on Bitcoin ETFs? Not much to think, really. I mean, it makes sense, right? They've got an ETF, now they can get in on it. Yeah, a lot of people tell me a lot about Casper. There's nothing, I don't have anything against it. It's just, there's only so much you can do, right? There's only so much you can do. Rob, thank you so much. Thank you for all the vids, keeping me sane through the recent bull. Thank you, Bob. I really appreciate it. Rob, excuse me. I have too many rums. Thank you, Rob. I really appreciate it. You guys really, I'm surprised you watch my channel given how much you're into your altcoins, right? Kind of. They're all pretty bad. Yeah, I don't know. There's nothing wrong with them. But after you get, you know, a certain stage, it becomes more about conserving capital than trying to find the next big pump. Yeah, there's always going to be more entries into Bitcoin, for sure. Like, for example, if I put up a Bitcoin chart, we are arguably going to get one in about 2 weeks' time, maybe even less than that. I can't remember the count. Where's the count? I think if we assume this one's correct, day 9. So there might be a pullback into day 15, and certainly there should be a half cycle low shakeout by day 30. And then if not, coming into focus around the first week of April, there should be a 60-day cycle low. So there's going to be high probability setups. VNQ short is kind of mid, to be honest. It's not really doing a great deal. There it is. So move this fractal out of the way and zoom out a bit. So yeah, we'll see. I'm pretty convinced it's going to continue to go down, but obviously if it breaks out, then I'm flat wrong about that. Did I check XRP? I think I did. We'll pull it up in a second. What are my thoughts on XRP and the last lawsuit? I'm not really checking it, to be honest. I'm not really tracking it. For me, like, something big is coming, right? Something big is coming because we're getting to the edge of this wedge. So either it's going to break down and go to 10 cents, or it's going to break out and hopefully go above $1. So I don't know. I took this kind of out-of-pocket XRP trade a while ago, and I kind of have just been sleeping on it because it's not done anything, right? Rejection at resistance, bounce off support. So it's coiling, it's compressing. That's usually a good sign. But I don't really care much for it. I've not been following the lawsuit. Japan entered a recession. That's true. Germany did as well. Yeah, China's denying it, but China's in outright deflation. So I don't do targets, but higher for Riot for sure, and probably over the all-time high price, the prior all-time high. Never heard of Vayet, whatever that is. Everyone is a genius in a bull market, absolutely right. And we're in that everyone's an expert phase, right? And if we continue to move as we are moving, right? If Bitcoin continues to crack all-time highs, if altcoins start to pump and start popping off, then you're going to see more and more people become super insufferable on Twitter, and people are going to be dunking on each other, and screenshots of profit are going to be here, there, and everywhere. But the reality is most of those people are going to lose all of that money in a bear market. So, yeah, just keep that in mind, right? Just keep that in mind. You got to stay humble, and you got to be aware that it's easily won, and it's not hard to keep it. Sorry, and it is hard to keep it. At what point would retail jump back into the market? At all-time highs is my opinion, to be honest. They usually don't show up till near all-time highs, and then it'll be all over their mainstream news probably that Bitcoin's made another all-time high, and here's how to buy it. I'm going to be looking for the Coinbase to hit #1 app in the downloaded store for the App Store. So we'll be looking for that as well. Yeah, hit the like button. And I'll keep dunking on your altcoins. Am I Australian? I'm not Australian, no, I'm English. Thank you for all the nice comments. Can I check EDR, the UFC stock? What on earth is that? This one. What is that? Is that the one? I don't have anything to say about that. It's just kind of sideways, right? I mean, break above 26 and change, and maybe it can start a markup. Will the small caps still go up once the leaders stop going up? Yeah, I would think so. And we're kind of starting to see it in the Russell 2K. So as long as that can continue, I think we'll be okay. €1LV, thank you very much for the €2. Ideas on deflation bust before or after the Bitcoin top? Well, I hope afterwards. I hope. I mean, we need to see another month's CPI print because so far I've been wrong on deflation, and inflation's been popping up this week. So, maybe I'm wrong, but like I've been saying, we need to see another month, and we'll figure it out from there. Either way, it seems like we're coming in that neighborhood where we'd expect to see a 4-year cycle low for the S&P 500. and that's due around the middle of the year. So I kind of expect to see a decent sized correction, if not more, by the middle of this year. In terms of does it come before or after the Bitcoin top, I would hope afterwards, because I struggle to see a world where Bitcoin continues to do well in the short term with everything else crashing, particularly if we enter deflation. Then Bitcoin is going to suffer. But I do expect Bitcoin to be amongst the first and the fastest to recover if we do get a deflationary bust. Bitcoin hash rate is just parabolic, isn't it? A lot of people think $16 XRP is a thing. I'm not sure. That'd be nice, I guess. When Lambo? Soon, if we keep up this rate, right? ETH to the moon, maybe. I'm not very good at reading these comments. What we got? Thank you for the congrats. If your rate of M2 decrease in BTFP ending leading us into deflation doesn't play out, are there any other early or lagging indicators for your recession signal stock market pullback in your mind or expectation? Yeah, I kind of went over that last Saturday or the Saturday before in the deep dive, and I'll cover it again in tomorrow's video. There's things like the yield curve inversion. There's things like unemployment. I do still expect to see unemployment start to tick up, but we haven't seen that yet. I also expect the yield curve to continue to revert, and typically that doesn't end well. Not to mention we've got that 4-year cycle low for the stock market and a bunch of other economic cycles coming to a close around that time. So I wouldn't be surprised, right? I wouldn't be surprised, but you know, as ever, we just got to take it one day at a time, right? And it's really difficult. This is why I like to focus mostly on the charts, because it's really, really difficult to understand, because so much of this data is fake and so much of it they release and then a few weeks later they modify it or update it or whatever. So kind of difficult, right? I don't know anything about Whitney Webb. No, I don't know anything about that, sorry. Would recession hitting hard the end of April, May delay Bitcoin forming a top? Yeah, it would. If we enter a deep recession, probably people are going to become forced sellers of Bitcoin. I know a lot of people like to think it's this ultimate risk-off asset. Maybe one day in the future it will be, but I just don't think we're there yet. I know I, for one, and probably many of you guys see it as the ultimate risk-off safe haven, but the reality is most people don't. And until it gets a market cap of at least 5 or 6 trillion, people probably aren't going to take it seriously as a risk-off asset. That's my thoughts anyway. I think if the altcoins are going to rally, it'll be after the halving, or at least after Bitcoin hits an all-time high. Hi Mo, I am, mate. That's too many characters to type, Big Rad. I can't type all that in. Yeah, I know you have, Mo. I appreciate the support, bro. Thanks, T-Bone. No, I did not hear about Whitney Webb, I'm afraid. Not gonna dunk on Bonk. Yeah, it's too easy to dunk on it, right? The network keeps going out for Solana, and I don't know. I don't really know about it. I don't need to know about it, right? It's called Bonk. What else is there to say? Can I have a look at QNT? Where am I from in the UK? I'm from the southwest. That can't be it. Oh, is it an altcoin? Are we doing more altcoins? Guys, come on. Yeah, I mean, maybe. It's the same thing, right? Maybe it's going to do this, which is kind of what I expect most altcoins are going to do. Or maybe you manage to pick the one that's going to do this. Or I say one of the small handfuls that are going to do that. Who is Whitney Webb? Is this someone I should know about? How am I ignorant of Whitney Webb? What do we need to know? Okay, I can't be bothered to do this now. Someone let me know, please. I'll read it out. UDS JPY monthly chart. I haven't been tracking it, to be honest. Polkadot. I think we already did dot, didn't we? Does everyone want Lambos, right? Do I see ETH performing well in the run-up to the ETH ETF? I don't believe there's going to be an ETH ETF. I really don't. Not a popular opinion, like many of my opinions. But I just don't... As far as I can tell, it's an illegal security. I don't know how you can frame it any other way. And, I mean... I don't know. I don't see it. I bet they would love to, because they will just give people the spot tracking price, right? And they'll farm all of the staking rewards and keep that for themselves. So I bet they would love to have one, but I just don't really imagine we're going to see an ETH ETF. I could certainly be wrong about that. I don't mind if I am wrong about that, but I'll believe it when I see it. Definitely not a Eurus. One of the worst looking cars of all time, in my opinion. I can do Link. I know a few of you hold this. I think I covered this at some point as an example for the members, or maybe even on the main channel. I mean, yeah, we had this, right? That was a nice area to get in on the breakout. Happy days. And now what? Now we've just put in a base. Big one, but it's a base. And we're leaving it. So, I mean, the thing's quite bullish. And let's clean this chart up a bit. I mean, you could definitely manage the risk around that, right? I mean, it's the same thing I do every time. Just draw a trend line and use it as an area on the chart around which to manage the risk. What do I recommend to those who are still out of the market and looking to get into Bitcoin? Just manage the risk, man. Don't get FOMO. Chill out. There's always another trade, and there'll be better times to buy than when we're as extended as we are. Bonk. I can't be bothered to do bonk. No, sorry. Gold sovereigns. Generic gold bars. Well, bars in the UK, you have to pay capital gains tax on. Gold coins, you don't have to. So. I think I called the oil short way in advance, and it took a while to get there. Deflation is coming, and you're right about it. It just takes longer. Yeah, it could be. It could be. And I still think I'm probably going to be re-entering the oil short in the not too distant future. I've been showing this over and over again, right? If it plays out, you know, we should be expecting to see this rollover and a loss of support. And if it does, then it's down to $40, right? For sure. Down to $40. We'll move the trend line across, and that will become the new line in the sand, in which we'll cover the short. But it's got to break down first, because if it continues to just do this, then up we go, right? What have I done? Thoughts on BRC20? No strong opinion, really. Although, isn't it outpacing ETH for NFT volume? How come I don't trade Forex? Honestly, I could never... Forex seems to be too manipulated, or I'm just really bad at trading it. But I could never cope with Forex. I didn't like the fact that it's really expensive and requires a lot of leverage, because you're in and out of day trades. To swing trade it is kind of expensive as well, and the moves are they're just not for me. They're just not for me. I don't really like it. It behaves as a different beast, so I don't really care too much. I do take the occasional Forex trade, but generally speaking, I think it's easier to make money in stocks. Yeah, we already did total free a while ago, I think, on the main channel. I did that for someone because it had this. Yeah, it's like the most textbook Wyckoff accumulation you've ever seen in your life, right? And now it's on its way. So maybe alt season's coming, and maybe I'm just a salty old camel that doesn't want to take part in it. But I mean, that is undeniably the most textbook Wyckoff accumulation you've ever seen, and indeed, it is moving up now. It is entering phase E, or at least trying to. So we did SMCI a minute ago, and I mean, that's my thoughts, right? It's just, it's vertical. What else is there to say? I mean, either that's the top, right? And what comes next is this big crashing structure, or maybe it's going to chop around in here and then we're going to go one more time. I don't really know. RuneScape 360 no scope is the only altcoin I hold, of course. Yeah, Elks. That's exactly how I feel as well. Everyone seems to be making money on alts, and I don't own any. But it's okay, man. It's okay, right? You don't have to. Getting into alts because everyone else is making money is not a good enough reason. I'm okay. I don't mind. I'm happy for everyone else. Salty camel, indeed. Okay, how are we doing? Let me check in on the numbers. Pretty good numbers, to be fair. How long have we been going for as well? I'm so new to this. I'm still trying to find out where everything is. Oh, it's been about an hour. Okay, that's not bad, right? That's not bad. So, is there anything you want me to go over? Is there anything you want me to cover? Thoughts on the privacy coins? My thoughts on privacy coins are they sound really good, but they just haven't got the security that I like to see. They haven't got the adoption that I thought they would have by now, and they seem to be a little bit of a target for governments. Like, governments don't seem to like them very much now. Until they amass a decentralization akin to bitcoins, then they can be stopped in theory. Zcash is struggling. What's another one? Monero. I can't spell any of these. What's it? Monero. I mean, it kind of speaks to what I was saying multiple times today, right? We got this big sidewaysness. Is it going to ever recover its all-time high? Maybe, right? Maybe. Or maybe it's pets.com. If you don't know the analogy, during the .com bubble, there was a whole heap of domains getting listed, and pets.com had this insane performance where it went up multiple thousands of %, but it didn't even have a shop behind it, right? So it just goes to show that, like, you know, things can go crazy and they can be overextended and reach valuations that are just not found in reality, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what I want to be a part of. So I don't know. I like the idea of privacy coins, but like I said, they just don't really have the adoption I want to see. Nah, don't pay off your home. Buy the Lambo. Lambo's way more fun than owning a house. I keep losing track of where I am in the comments. UK in a technical recession, is it a non-issue? I'm not really sure. I mean, I don't think it is. Like, a recession is a recession, right? So, can you tell me why you think most people are hooked on altcoins? CPM, honestly, and I want to choose my words carefully here. I think it's because a lot of people are young. A lot of people have been dealt a bad hand. And by that, I mean, you can't just go to school, get a job, and then use that income from that job to buy a house and support your wife and raise a few kids, right? You can't do that anymore. And I think the reality is people are looking for a ticket out of there, and that's absolutely fine, right? I was in that exact position, and trading can be, or at least investing can be, one tool that you can use to do that, to exit the matrix, so to speak. I definitely think some people are just addicted to trying to find that one that does the 150,000x or whatever it is. But I think, you know, if I was a younger person with not a lot of money and a huge appetite for risk, then I may focus way more on altcoins than I do. But as you get older, and I'm sure you can appreciate this, CPM, as you get older and as you start to build more wealth, you tend to be thinking more about how can I keep hold of it and how can I protect it, rather than how can I find a way to 1000x it. David Humphrey, that is my second that's my second favorite coin, of course. I'm sure it'll be parabolic soon enough, Jacob. I hope so anyway. Mind you, to be honest, I'm not even super. I mean, obviously I could probably have more views if I marketed the channel better. I should probably pay someone, or I could pay someone £5 or 15 quid on that website Fiverr to actually make me a proper logo and an intro and all of that stuff. And I could do that whole face melt thing, right, with the mouth open on the YouTube thumbnails. And I could probably do a lot more clickbaity titles, and then maybe we could get more subs and grow the channel faster. But to be honest, I love the community for what it is, right? I would rather have a bunch of highly intelligent people that want to put in the work, rather than just show up and, you know, click this thing because I've made them scared, or because I've clickbaited them into clicking it. So, you know, the channel will grow over time, I'm sure of that, but I'm not in any rush to sort of onboard people for no rhyme or reason, or for the wrong reasons. Yeah, people are hooked on alts because of the insane gains. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's nowhere else you can get those kind of gains. Well, actually, that's not even true, because penny stocks, I started trading penny stocks before I traded everything else, and they routinely do 10x. They routinely do 10x. So, and also, if we're going to play this game, there's probably a government bond you can buy in Afghanistan that will give you the odds of a 1000x or a 10,000x return. But what's the risks, right? Probably less than a holding bonk or some of those other ones. Thank you, M. Appreciate it. What do I think is a sensible dividend stock? I'm not really that into dividends, to be honest, but I like IUKD if you're in the UK. I think they pay pretty well historically. They tend to kind of trade more or less sideways, I guess, but they pay all these dividends out all the time. So there's that. That's one, but I can't personally vouch for that because I don't really hold it. But I don't really, dividends isn't for me because obviously I can actually trade. So I tend to just prefer to pick a basket of stocks and try to trade them. What do I think about SoFi PayPal? I don't know what SoFi is. It sounds familiar. Maybe I do know this. How many charts have we pulled up with this exact structure, right? Big decline, kind of sideways chop, looking like it could go either way. Quite a lot. I'm just noticing that. There's not much to think, really. I mean, we've got a failed range break, I think, right? Really strong performing pattern this when it performs. So here's your buy signal, breakout retest, looking for resumption, early warning sign, huge warning sign, possible re-entry, warning sign, big warning sign. So that's what I think of that. When they look much more like Coinbase, for example, let me pull up Coinbase for you. So instead of the box, I've got this green horizontal, right? But when they look like this, big range, breakout retest, strong resumption, it's usually a very high performing pattern. So that's something. What was the other one? PayPal. PayPal, I've got this here because one of the members asked me to cover it and we lined it up. I didn't actually take it, but you know, here it is, right? Possibly breaking out. I'll say the same now as I said to the member that requested it. I am not a big fan of when you get a beaten down stock like this. I'm not a big fan of trying to pick the bottom or trying to find a breakout trade to new highs from here. It's far easier to find a chart that looks like this and buy dips in uptrends, right? It's far easier, even if the chart looks like in this neighborhood, you know, there was an entry here that would have got you in with a stop loss below those lows. Similarly, you could have got in here, right? Similarly, there's a very small one there. Multiple places that could have got you in on the way up. And it's much easier to buy those dips in uptrends than it is to try to find a stock like this and say, yeah, that's the bottom, we're going long. So that would be my advice. That was my advice to the member is, yeah, find something that's trending up and buy the dips on the way. IREN on the pullback. Yeah, I'm not going to cover IREN because it's in the members section. I know you are a member, Scotty, but I'll cover that tomorrow in the member section. Would I ever own a Solana phone? Big Rad, you got all the questions, and I love it. I mean, I assume if I did, it would crash every 2 weeks, right? Oh, okay. Whitney Webb is that way around, huh? Okay. Are we going there? I don't think we are. I will look into that though. Actually, I will look into that. The thing with all of that stuff, right, and the Island Man, is it's really difficult. I think to. I mean, we know what goes on, right? Or we can kind of imagine what goes on. I think, but we probably can't imagine what goes on to the fullest extent. But we all know some nefarious stuff goes on, right? But I guess my point is, I always am curious because if it comes out over the media, I always have to ask myself why, right? Because they control it. They control the media, so they can censor what they want to, and they only let out what they want to let out. So I don't really know, but I'll check that out anyway. But I think it's beyond the remit of this live stream. Excuse me. Are we expecting a daily cycle low on crypto equities? Seem to have hit a short-term high. We're not expecting the next Bitcoin cycle low for about 45 days. There will be a half cycle low in about 20 days. I haven't been following AI stocks, and to be honest, I should have been. I should have been because they've done really well. The closest we get to that is Microsoft in the members section, which has done okay, but it's certainly not been super performance like some of the other ones have. I just kind of have missed out on that. Again, you can only put your attention on so many things, and I would recommend that you do really good at 5 charts before trying to learn 50. It's certainly better to, I mean, for me, my go-to, as you probably already know, are Bitcoin, S&P, NASDAQ, Dow. Like, that's my bread and butter, and then oil and gold as and when, because they tend to be cyclical. So gold, you know, for a while, it's mostly untradeable. If I zoom out a bit here, it's a really good example, right? There's a nice trade, and then perhaps a short or sit on the sides. And then here, this blue one, we took this one live on the channel here, traded that up to somewhere in this neighborhood, and then kind of sat on the sides. And again, could have got long here, but I was saying, no, I don't really believe it. Now we're looking for a short, and then eventually there'll be another one of these setups. So that's kind of like my go-to, gold, silver, and oil for the cyclical plays. The S&P is like my bread and butter, right? Because it makes these 40-day cycle lows and trend lines all the time. So it's kind of relatively easier for me to trade, along with the NASDAQ and the Dow. And then, of course, Bitcoin, and of late, because we're in a bull market, crypto-related equities. So I think it's better to have like a handful of things and do them really well than it is to try to track everything. Arguably, or not arguably, I certainly could have had more gains if I'd focused on AI. But if you're going to play that game, right, there's, like I said, there's always more gains. And I think consistency over time is the number one thing. Camel Dung was one of the first probiotics ever used. Was it really? I'll take your word for it. If the NSA came out and admitted that Bitcoin was their baby, what would be the worldwide reaction? I think half of the world already kind of thinks they made it, right? Because there's a good argument and a bad argument for this. The bad argument is the NSA created SHA-256, which is the hashing algorithm used in Bitcoin's protocol. But that's a bad argument because it's pretty well known that algebra is largely attributed or accredited to Muslims. So this is kind of a silly argument, because it's like saying, well, Muslims control algebra, right? Like, they don't control it. The NSA don't control SHA-256. They just kind of invented it. Any more than Muslims control algebra, they just kind of invented it. So that's the bad argument. There's a slightly crazier argument, a slightly more valid argument, in the sense that it's likely that somebody inside the NSA created Bitcoin because of all of the random number generators used to generate the wallet addresses. Most of them, nearly all of them, were certified as having no backdoors. But it came out years later, when Edward Snowden leaked a bunch of stuff, that many of them actually did have backdoors, even though they were certified by the NSA to not have backdoors. And Satoshi just so happened to pick the one that didn't have a backdoor. So out of all of the possible elliptical curves that he could have chosen to do the encryption, he just so happened to pick the one that they didn't have a backdoor to. So that kind of speaks to it being somebody from within the NSA. But can they control it and overpower it? Even if it comes out that Donald Trump or whoever it is, it doesn't matter. Even if I created it, right? What does that change? It's still a decentralized network. It's still distributed. It's still unfuckwithable code, right? That's what it is, and that's not going to change. So Bitcoin is Bitcoin. It doesn't matter if it one day comes out that somebody created it. Thank you for the nice comments. So if I picked up before earnings, yep. Whitney Webb. I will check out Whitney Webb. CKB. I've never heard of it. ETF rejection probability. I think high. I think high for ETH. I really don't. I don't know. I'm happy to be wrong. I don't have a horse in this race. I don't own any ETH, but I really don't think they're going to get an ETH ETF through. I just think that's pure cope for ETH holders personally. But then again, I am becoming more and more of a toxic maximalist in my old age. How long do I think a potential recession would last? It would last until they decide to print. Typically, they last anywhere between 6 and 24 months. So I guess 6 and 24 months. I would imagine, because we're getting closer and closer to the top, we are likely going to see them turn the printers on sooner rather than later. I mean, we saw in the C19 era, right, that COVID plunge back, where is it? Back here. I mean, how long was that? I mean, measure this. Top to bottom, that was... Is that all? No, I must have got that wrong. Is that all it was? It felt like a lot worse. 23 days, right? So I kind of would expect something more violent, maybe slightly longer, maybe a lot longer than 23 days, top to bottom. Is this the right plunge? I'm sure, I traded all through this and did really well at getting this breakout. And that felt like months. That felt like months in there. I remember that. It was really a weird time. I thought the world was ending, not because of the stuff that was going around the world, but because of this chart. I thought like this is never going to stop. And then that was really difficult trade to take because sentiment was so bad. But yeah, the closer to tops, the more it typically does this, right? The more it typically broadens out and chops around. So do I expect a recession to be closer to 6 months than 24? Yes, but it all comes down to when do they turn the printers on, right? If Bitcoin goes to a new all-time high, that will not be good for crypto. Altcoins need a few years to build. Bitcoin ETF crypto is on the way. Sure. The altcoin master. Oh, hi, Mrs. Camel. The wife has entered the chat. Well, Mrs. Camel, do you think we need altcoins? I'm not sure we do. How do I short the NASDAQ? I use spread betting. I use spread betting, but I'm in the UK. I'm not sure that's available everywhere else. I would stay away from options and futures. I've never gotten on with them personally. Although last time I said this, a lot of people said, no, options are awesome. So, but again, I can only talk about what I'm qualified to talk about. I've been thinking about Porsche recently. For a long time, I just didn't like them, but recently they look a lot better to me for some reason. Mrs. Camel says because we're getting old. Thank you, Choco. Elf Bay. My number one fishing buddy has entered the chat. I don't trade Forex because I just find it difficult. Hi, Mr. Camel. Opinion on sell-off after the Fed pivot? Yeah, I think that's what we see. If you cut rates as normalization, the stock market can survive that. If they cut because they're forced to cut because something breaks, which is kind of what I've been expecting. I've been expecting that to happen. Then, that's bearish. And if they just cut into a recession, which I also kind of expect to happen, then that is also historically bearish. The market can tolerate 1 or 2 cuts historically, but typically speaking, the end is nigh once they start to cut. Am I smoking? Yeah, I'm smoking a cigarette. I was supposed to get a cigar. I couldn't get cigars, so I'm smoking cigarettes. Treat myself, every once in a while. It's a dangerous game because I gave up smoking. Smoked for like 15 years and then gave up, so I'm playing with fire really, but I'm sure I can have the odd 1 or 2, right? Famous last words. It's not a pipe, no. Did I say I fish? Yeah, you must be new here. No, it's not a cigar. It's not a cigar, it's just a cigarette. My go-to is the cigars from the Dominican Republic. I prefer those to Cubans. Thank you, Fat FR. Yeah, tobacco tax has gone, it's gone insane. But luckily I don't smoke anymore, so it's not an issue for me. Who is Kate Middleton? Mrs. Camel, if you're in the chat, who is Kate Middleton? I'm sure my wife will know. Thanks for popping in, Sean. I appreciate it, mate. Yeah, big love. I'll let you know. Yeah, sheep herder. Yeah, I can't. Your logic is right there. Your logic is right. Short-term risk, I guess, right? Versus long-term. Yeah, I like bass fishing, Gabriel. We do sea fishing mostly. Bass fishing season here starts about April, typically speaking. You can catch them between January and February, but they're catch and release only. So we tend to wait till April when it heats up, and then you can hopefully catch them on the lures. Yeah, HQ Internet. They're in my local petrol station. You could pay 20 quid for 20 cigarettes these days, which that is mental. What does my day look like? Honestly, my day is super boring, really. I often see those, or not often, but you occasionally see those internet traders, and they're like, yeah, start my day at 6 a.m, and I drive my Lambo to this hotel, and I pay £900 for a breakfast, and then I trade from my desk, and then I go here and get on a yacht. Like, my day looks nothing like that. I wake up and I have a couple of coffees. I take my dog out for about an hour and a half, and then come back and shower, do a YouTube video, and then hit the gym, and then I'm usually ready to trade for the US stock market open. And depending on how much there is to do, I will either be trading until the evening time, or if, like today, for example, it's just long and strong, continue to push, then I will find something to amuse myself, like studying, or usually studying, learning. That's what I like to do. Learning is my hobby. I was realizing this recently, like that is one of my hobbies. If I'm not fishing, then I'm usually studying something. I'm guessing there are a lot of smokers in the chat. No problem. Thanks for hopping in. Yeah. Cheap cigs abroad. Yeah. Even those, though, I find like they're not as cheap as they once were. I guess it depends where you go, right? But I'm in the process of replacing my gym at the moment. So I have to have about a week and a half off whilst I wait for the rest of it to arrive. But yeah, I'm in the process of replacing my gym. I'm looking forward to it though. I miss it. And I got, funny enough, right? I got married in August last year, so that's not even that long ago, and I've gained nearly 20 pounds since then. Some of that is fat mind because I've been bulking. But when I went out for Valentine's Day with Mrs. Camel, I put on the shirt. I got a shirt tailored and a suit tailored, and I put on the shirt and the jacket to go out for dinner with Mrs. Camel, and my back didn't fit in it. I was like, oh no. New fishing boat before the Porsche. I don't know if I want a fishing boat, to be honest. I definitely want a yacht at some point. Although the maintenance cost, I'm not sure how much use I would get out of it. But a little fishing boat doesn't massively interest me. I definitely don't need a Porsche, I can say that. Am I based in London? No, I'm not based in London. I actually really don't like the cities in the UK. Bible and trading seems like a strange combination. But if you have God on your side, I do believe trading is a lot easier. Thanks, Gabriel. Yeah, you can always try it for a month, see what you think. Thank you, Ian. I appreciate it. I'm not too familiar with Gann's cycles, to be honest. It is on my list of things to go back and study. I did study it many years ago, but I've kind of forgotten about it. I did show a pretty cool Gann fan trick with Bitcoin a couple of weeks ago. And so far, it's playing out. $1.60 for 26, eh? That's not bad. But I expect everything's cheap in Colombia, right? Kate Middleton. Okay, Mrs. Camel saying Kate Middleton is the Princess of Wales. Okay. Sure. Why do we want to know about Kate Middleton again? Did someone ask about that? River, lake, ocean. We do a little bit of lake fishing, mostly sea fishing, yeah, ocean fishing. And I bought fly fishing gear right at the end of season and then found out that by the time I'd bought it all, we were in closed season. So I'm going to try and do some trout fishing this year. I think trout fishing in the UK is back in March, I believe. I happen to live quite close to a few fisheries, so I might try and pop into one of those. The problem is, it's not really a problem. I love it, but I've got a lockdown puppy, and he never leaves my side. So he's 4 now. He's not a puppy anymore, but it makes getting away quite difficult. Do I sometimes open a trade for one day? Any small trades you hop in and out of during the day at all? Not really. And to be completely honest with you, I've never really had success day trading. One of the reasons I'm such an advocate for the daily chart is I kind of have this theory that day trading is really difficult because you're mostly fighting against algorithms and bots and high frequency trading things that the banks spend billions on. And there's a chart. I don't know if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it real quick. In here, what would I type in? Gains made after hours. If I can find this chart, it will blow your mind. And you'll probably stop trading. You'll probably stop day trading, I mean. Yeah, there it is. All right, okay, this is, pay attention, okay? This is some alpha for you. So this is why Camel does not day trade, okay? Here are the S&P 500's price returns, and in grey, you can see this is during market open hours, right? This is during normal hours at the bottom. And then you can see all the time in red, and after hours, when the market is closed, is in blue. This is why I believe day trading is a scam, almost. That's not to say that you can't make money day trading. I'm sure people do. But this is why I prefer to swing trade. Because if you're hopping in and out for day trades, right, this is your gains in here. It doesn't do anything. All the gains are made after hours, as you can see. And that's why I prefer to get into a swing trade and ride that thing for multiple days and weeks. It's also much easier when you're looking at a chart like this to not get chopped up. Right, it's much easier to ride a trend that lasts for 1, 2, 3 daily cycles than it is to try and hop in and out and using a 5-minute chart or whatever. But I mean, if that isn't an eye opener for any of the day traders in the chat, then I don't know what is. You know, take a screenshot of that. Remind yourself why it's better to swing trade than day trade. Could I let you know how to make a Bitcoin gold chart on TradingView? Yes, I can. So you have to type in, for example, BLX, and then hit divide, and then hit gold. And then you click gold, the chart you want, click back here in BLX, and then select BLX or whatever, Bitcoin USD, whatever the chart is, and hit enter. And there you go. Beam for gaming. I've not heard of Beam. The only gaming one I know is Illuvium. One of my friends is really heavily invested in Illuvium, and he sends me all the like updates and stuff, and the progress they've made is really good. I don't know what the token looks like, but when yacht party? I don't know. End of the decade, perhaps. The problem isn't buying the yacht. The problem is running it, right? There's a ballpark figure, I don't know if you know this, of around 10%. So if you buy a yacht for £2 million, you have to spend 200k a year maintaining it, which is it's quite a lot of money, especially if you're only going to use it for like 6 weeks of the year. It's cheaper to charter one. Kamazabi, have you been here long, mate? Hello, by the way. I was watching Bob Lucas's video and he was talking about this super cycle, but it seemed to get edited out. Have you got any idea? I noticed that as well. I don't think he edited it out. I think he just, it was a bit of bad editing. He did kind of go on to mention it. I think the point he was trying to make is, let's pull up a Bitcoin chart. They're all so messy, aren't they? Maybe use BLX. I think what he's talking about, right, is if we, sorry, give me 1 second to clean this chart up a bit. How's that look? Bit better, right? That's the halving in blue there. So I think, obviously we know what a left translated cycle would be, right? That would be a top that comes in before November of this year. So if it tops somewhere in this neighborhood or before, that's left translated cycle. I think what he was referring to in terms of the what he terms the super cycle would look something a bit more like this, where we would get kind of like a big sort of a false left translated top, then a huge correction followed by a eventual right translated top. And if we were to do that, that right translated top should in theory come way, 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 way higher. And thus it would probably look something a lot more like, if I grab this double pump, I think I did this earlier. Yeah, if I grab this, right, I think this is what he's talking about for the for the super cycle. So if we did something like this, you know, here I would be saying good chance that's a left translated cycle, and we're going to enter an extended bear market where we do something like this into that 4-year cycle low before we can go again. And this is why I don't want a left translated cycle top, because if we get something like this show up, right, we will have to respect some kind of breakout like that, not knowing whether it's going to do a super cycle to a right translated top, or whether it's going to do something like this and then roll over and fail, and then we'd have to pay a stop out and give some profit back in there. So that's why I don't want a left translated cycle top, because we will have to respect and sell the parabolic breakdown in this neighborhood, right? We have to sell this. And again, like I said, we'll have to respect this breakout, because we don't know if it's going to do that, or like I said, if it's going to do this and then into that 4-year cycle low. So I think that's what he meant by super cycle, that we might get some double pump type thing. And obviously the numbers here are astronomical. I discussed speaking to normies in the videos. Are you plugged into the banking world through friends or family? No, not at all. Not at all. If you mean like, do I have friends or family in the banking world? If that's what you mean, no, I don't know anyone that works for a bank or anything like that. I have quite a small family on my side. Mrs. Camel's family is enormous, but yeah, I don't really know any normies, so to speak. Can I take a look at Tesla, please? Yeah, I guess so. I had quite a few people asking me about Tesla. Like there's definitely, I'll say the same to you as I said then, that there's a thesis for a trade here, right? In that maybe we've just made a swing and now we're going to target higher up. I don't really like that. I would much rather be a buyer if we did this. If we did something like this, breakout, retest and go, then at that point for me, I become interested. And that will be counterintuitive to a lot of people. A lot of people will say, what, you would rather buy 265 than you would 190 or 200, right? But for me, what I want is a high probability setup and an area on the chart I can manage my risk around. And arguably you can manage your risk here, but there's nothing that I can see out of this setup currently that says we're not going to do this next. So for me, I want to see a breakout, and that's what that would look like. That's my thoughts. So yeah, I would much rather pay 265 with a stop somewhere around 240 than I would buy this down here. But as I said, there is a thesis down there, and of course, you know, if that's the low, then you have a nice place to put your stop loss. Alexander, that sounds nice, but I'm just not convinced they're actually all going to outperform. I'm just not convinced of that. Hi, Laura. Welcome. Yeah, we're live. We'll be live for a little bit, I think. DWAC. What is DWAC? Is that right? Oh yeah, wow, look at that. Charts sometimes look so funny. Yeah, I mean, if you got in here, kind of speaks again, doesn't it? Kind of speaks to this, right? We've got this range break at the bottom, breakout, no, not really a retest, and go. And then again, you know the trick, right? Manage the risk around there. So yeah, it looks pretty cool. Certainly if you got in here, that was a nice trade. I quite fancy spearfishing. Yeah, I thought about this. I looked into it, but you kind of, in the UK, you have to get a license and go through some training or something like that. And that was enough to put me off of it. Plus, I'm actually not really built for the cold or swimming. So I've got, I sink I sink and I don't like the cold. So there aren't enough SIGs in the world to get me through day trading. Yeah, exactly. That sounds good, Rad. Gabriel, welcome to level 3, bruv. Day trading's all about liquidity. Yeah, Kem, yeah. It's not for me. It's not for me personally. Kem, do you day trade? Yeah, thanks for joining, Gabriel. I hope you like it. Highly recommended to go back 4 weeks and watch from there, and that will catch you up. Princess of Wales hasn't been seen in 50 days. Where is she? I didn't even know who she was. I don't know if that speaks negatively on me. Should I know who the Princess of Wales is? Hasn't been seen. Does that imply something is bad? I don't know. Maybe she's just on holiday, partying with Jeff Bezos on his yacht. Yeah, maybe she's fly fishing. Thoughts on Cypher? I'll cover Cypher and the other miners in the members video tomorrow. Bitcoin to silver looks interesting, does it? Okay, let's have a look. Bitcoin is just eating currencies one by one, isn't it? Absolutely eating them. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. It looks like it's playing out that gold fractal, right? But it's just ahead of schedule. Just wondering if there's something to that. Maybe this is indicative that gold fractal will play out. I really hope it does, because that would be such a nice exit. That would be such a nice trade for me, because I don't want to exit to fiat, as I've said so many times. Am I interested in watches or art? To be honest, no, not really. For years, many years ago, I wanted a Rolex, and I tried one on, and I was like, that feels horrible. It felt so much worse than I was wearing. I think at the time it was like a £200 watch, and I was like, how does it feel less comfortable than my £200 watch? And after that, I was like, wow, I don't know, it just kind of ruined it for me. I don't wear a watch, generally speaking, anyway, mostly just because even if I do, I just still end up pulling my phone out of my pocket to check the time. However, having said that, if we go deflationary bust and I'm trying to hide money, would I be interested in buying some watches as a way to store some value in an asset I could hold in my hand or potentially wear on my wrist? Maybe. So never say never. I don't know anything about art though, so art doesn't interest me at all. Yeah, I can see gaming being a big thing. I did look at Tesla. I'll do it again just in case you missed it. There's not much to say about it. What I said was, for me, I want to see it break out of that downward sloping purple resistance line. I'll put a trade there. I said there's also a trade thesis here with a stop below the lows, but I don't like that. I prefer this entry here. So that's my thoughts. What do I think the chances of a normal cycle are? At the moment, I don't think they're that likely. I think I think we're more on track for a left translated cycle top than a right translated cycle top at the moment. There's also an Elliott wave count that supports that, and cycle theory in general supports that, as I've been showing recently. So yeah, I don't know. I really want a right translated cycle because it'll be so much easier to deal with, right? And the reason being is, if we know, is it the BLX chart that's got the 4-year count on it? Right. So if we zoom all the way out, one sec, let me get a weekly chart. So here in green are the 4-year cycle lows, right? If we know that it makes 4-year cycle lows like this, and there's another one due somewhere in this neighborhood, say plus or minus a couple of months, then if the chart does something like this, and we get 12 months out from this, then we can say not only has the trend line broken down when it breaks, but that's exactly where you'd expect to see it for a 12-month decline into a bear market low. So that'd be so much easier to deal with, because not only can we use the trend lines, but we can say, yeah, that's in the right timing window to expect a top and a 12-month decline into a bear market low, a 4-year cycle low. So that's why I want a right translated cycle top. Like I said, if we don't get that and we get the left translated, then we don't know if this is coming or whether we're going to have to respect a breakout, because the cycle will eventually form right translated either. So it'd be much easier if we don't get that. Look at Bitcoin versus the peso or Turkish lira. Yeah, I know. And the Japanese yen. It's doing this to all currencies lately, right? Here's the Japanese yen. Here is the Turkish lira. The Argentine peso. Lebanese pound. Wild, right? One by one, it's hunting them all. Even against the euro, we're not that far off. Right? Pretty close now, aren't we? For the euro. For the GBP as well, not far off against the pound. I mean, well, wild time to be alive, right? What else is it? South African rand. I think we're at all-time highs. Yeah, all-time highs there as well, right? So, one by one. And I think the Russian ruble... Not South Rub, what the... Yeah, look at that. Pretty close against the Russian ruble as well. So, yeah, it's a wild time to be alive. One by one, it is taking down these currencies. Alexander, I think you have to click on their name, maybe? What are my rules on when to use standard and when to use log? My go-to is standard. I just use standard nearly all the time. I only really use log if I'm trying to make a point and to zoom out like this. So here it fits, as you can see. So here it looks way better on log when I zoom all the way out. So I might use log in this scenario if I wanted to show you the whole chart. But generally speaking, I don't have a rule. I prefer the regular. It's probably good practice to consult both. So pull up a chart, do your TA in one, and then flip it onto log and do your TA in the other. See which one fits. Okay, Cam, good to know. Can I take a look at CLSK? I can't make because it's in the members section. It's not really fair to the people that pay for it. Cardanzo. Yeah, maybe I could get to 1 million subs if I became DGen. Maybe. Yeah, who'd have thought, right? Who'd have thought I didn't like the cold? Learn into paper trade, go all in live at some point, change your careers from science to food industry. Do I tutor at all? No, I don't tutor quantum. But yeah, I would say stick with the paper account until you're really confident with that. That's my only regret, really. I just went straight to live, and I could have just saved myself money. I know some people like to say that you should have skin in the game, and it's not the same if you've not got real money on the line. But for me, it was just as real with a paper account, and I just would have saved myself a bunch of money. So stick with that until you're really confident. There's no rush, and make sure you're not breaking rules. Make sure you're managing risk, keeping your stop size down, and once you can do that, then you should be good to go. Sheep herder, how does one gain levels? What do you mean? Big Rad's got Kate. Okay, we don't need to worry about that then. Not gonna lie, the whole altcoin meme degen thing makes me, yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks for dropping in, AH. I appreciate it, mate. Video tomorrow for sure. One is for day trading. Yeah, cool. Camel, would be interesting to see what you think about Bitcoin dominance chart. I haven't checked Bitcoin dominance. It's not something I track actually. I think I've kind of got it wrong. Let's have a look. I posted this fractal and arrows, as you can see. This was an idea of mine. Seems to be breaking right now. So, yeah, there's not... What can I say, really? What can I say about that? I know people want this thing to break down because that means alt season. But I still kind of am in the camp of people that think Bitcoin's going to outperform for a while, at least until it hits all-time highs. Do I think the next Bitcoin bear market will be shallower? I don't, mate. I think we're going 80, 85%, no problem. Thank you, Omen. Big Rad, I've been in a relationship 10 years, so I'm a bit out of touch, my man. Camel, are you not making an exit to fiat currency? Can you swap directly from Bitcoin to gold or whatever you decide? Or no, I'm going to make the exit to fiat. I think that's how I'm going to do it. I know CPM is working on an exit where you can go straight from Bitcoin to gold. But I think I'm going to use. I've got one supplier, dealer. I don't know what you call it. That I've used plenty of times in both directions, and I trust them. So I'm just going to use them. And I'm going to have to pay some tax when I sell it anyway. So apologies for the dumb question, but what do you mean when you said Bitcoin is taking down those currencies? Oh, I just meant it's making all-time highs against those currencies. That's all I meant. Hopefully my pendulum is swinging tonight. There are Bitcoin and gold merchants out there. Yeah, Bitcoin to gold merchants out there. The only reason, I'm not saying I don't trust them, it's just I happen to have used the one I use plenty of times in both directions. And I've had you can get, what do you call it, a coin scanner for like 1,100 quid. So I know they're legit. I've also taken them into local jewelers and sold them, and they x-rayed them in there. And so I know I trust them in as much as you can trust them. So I don't really want to go through the hassle of trying to find other ones. Pepe millionaire, just do alts. It will grow so much faster than this one, wouldn't it? Put little moon boys and flames in the thumbnails. Yeah, that's the way you got to do it. Or reveal my face and do it with the mouth open, ready to receive sausage. Cardano's logo is a little bit sus, as is Solana backwards. Thank you, sheep herder. Thanks for popping in. I appreciate it. 85% from what price? That's the big question, isn't it, Brandon? What is the price that we're going to see Bitcoin top at? I reckon somewhere between 150 and 250. If I had to guess, I don't know though. It's Bitcoin. It can do Bitcoin things. 365. Hey mate, how's it going? Can't stop. I wanted to show my support. Thank you. I appreciate it, mate. Yeah, have a great weekend, bro. Thoughts on Solana? I have no strong opinion really. We did cover it. My whole outlook has been Bitcoin dominance was turned upside down the last month or so. So I think it will bravely behave differently this year as ETH becomes more significant or implodes. Yeah, there's something is wrong with ETH, right? Something is wrong with ETH. Why is ETH underperforming so much? And also, if you look at the whale wallets, they have been in distribution since the prior all-time high. They have not entered reaccumulation. So that, to me, something is weird with Ethereum. I don't hold any Ethereum at all. When you said you should never risk more than 2% of trade, your hold account balance, for instance, you have 10K with the account. Do you trade 1K? Does that mean you can risk 200? Yeah, that's all it means. It just means that if, oh, by the way, I've got a risk management video scheduled to upload on the 15th of March that goes through all of this. But yeah, the long and short of it is, if you've got a 10K account, then you can afford to size an individual trade so that if you're stopped out, it's $200, right? So if I use Coinbase as an example, right? Say I had a 10K account and we're looking at the first position here, right? Maybe one contract. Let's say one contract or one whatever, right? One size. If the stop is £70, right, then I can afford that. If the stop is 100, if that stop right there, I move the stop to where I need it to be. If that's 150 and I've got a 10K account, fine. Then I can afford that. If it's 200, I can afford that. But if I need to stop here and it's going to cost 500, well, I can't afford that trade with that account size, right? So that's what I mean. It's just that has to be 2% of my total account. And then when it gets to here, you know, that has to be a free trade. I have to have enough profit from the first trade to cover all of the stop loss in the second. So that's all that is. And then I have a rule which is 6% sector risk, meaning as all four of these trades are correlated and to Bitcoin. So arguably that's five of the same trade, right? 5 of the same sector, Bitcoin plus these 4. Excuse me, I got a text. So what was I saying? Yeah, this Bitcoin is obviously correlated to all 4 of these. So that is 5 trades. So that means the stop losses must be sized across all 5 of these assets so that if all 5 of them are taken out, because I have to assume if one is stopped, they're all going to be stopped because they're correlated. If all of these are taken out at the same time, it has to be sized so that the total risk across all of them is no more than 6% in a single sector. So it's no good me sizing that as 2%, that as 2%, right? To another 2, right? Already to another 2. You see what I mean? We're going to be taking out like 15, 20% of my account if they're all stopped out. So that's no good. What I've got to do instead is size them all so that 6% in a single sector and 2% for an individual trade as a maximum. And if you stick to that rule, you will do well in trading. Ready for the sausage, that's right. Yeah, in terms of, can I comment on stop losses to protect gains? What do you mean, like moving the stops up? I mean, I use the trend lines, but you could always just trail the stop loss up, I guess, if that's what you mean. I don't really use any other hedging tools. Yeah, Big Rad, send me a Solana phone. Yeah, I'm aware of ETHgate, and yeah, big scandal indeed, right? That's, in fact, one of the major reasons that I don't hold any ETH, because it just seems like a ticking time bomb. M2 money supply, yep. All right, guys, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to have one more cigarette, and then I think we're going to call it. So if anyone's got anything they want to ask me, throw it down in the comments. If not, then I'll love you and leave you. I want to say a massive thank you to every single one of you for showing up, for every single one of you for supporting me. It means the world to me. I had a blast tonight. So yeah, I'm going to have one more cigarette, hang around for like 15 minutes. And then I think what we'll do is say goodbye. So look out for the video tomorrow and for the members only video if you're a member. Can I have a look at GameStop? Yep, we can. GME, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't like it. I don't like it. Arguably. I don't like that, though. It's a bit big. Good luck, Big Rad. Yeah, if you want me to do more live streams, I'm up for doing more live streams. I think maybe what we could do with is like a bit more structure. Someone was saying about having background music playing. Let me know what you think of that. I mean, it would fill the gaps in between me reading comments, but I couldn't really figure out how to get it around copyright. I don't know what you guys think of music playing in the background. We've done Robin Hood. We could do Robin Hood again. This is what we said about Robin Hood. We said there's a range and seems to have broken out. So there's a thesis for a trade somewhere in this neighborhood, right? Targeting higher up. Not one I'm taking personally, but certainly valid. I agree 100%. Chem, altcoin is too good for what they are. Thanks, Big Rad. I appreciate it. Thanks, Elf. Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Yeah, GME does not look good. Yeah, they have got free music you can listen to, but I think you have to list it or something or reference it, because otherwise they can still claim it. I guess I should look into that. I don't know. Do you think is background music? Is that a thing? Should we do that? I think if I had more structure rather than just sort of drinking and freestyling it, then there might be less gaps whilst I'm reading things. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. I'm glad you like the content. I tell you what, it's a lot of work. It might not look like it, but even at the low budget sort of one take thing that I do, it takes about three or 4 hours a day by the time from start to finish. Probably a lot more work than it looks like, but I do enjoy it. Yeah, I didn't think much of background music either. Background music, mixed opinions, I guess. Yeah, 10k live stream, I guess, is coming soon. Maybe try to get one. I don't know. If you got any ideas for like other live streams, I'll maybe put a poll out and see what people think. Could do like a chart request one or something, I guess. Thank you, BC. I appreciate it. Nah, I don't like the clickbait either. People just seem to get annoyed by it more than anything as well. So, and I like that our community's got like serious individuals in it, serious investors and traders, rather than just people that come because they're scared the world is ending and the sky is falling. Yeah, music distracts me as well. I don't know if I'd be able to. I get distracted enough, to be honest. How did I go about learning TA and hedging? I just trial and error over time, really, and studying everything I could. And I initially started with like no strategy, and then I was using a bunch of oscillators. I was a big parabolic SAR trader at one point, and I also used a bunch of moving averages. But ultimately, I just found that like the trend lines and the cycles work the best for me. I will say this: I think, regardless of what way you trade, I think you should try, especially if you're new. I think you should try a bunch of different ones. And what you probably will find is one of them feels more intuitive than the rest, and the one that feels the most intuitive, you should probably go with. Like the one that makes most logical sense in your mind should be the one you stick with, because the more it makes sense, the more you sort of understand what's going on, the easier it will be. Pole dancers for the 10K. Yeah, maybe. Thanks, HQ. Appreciate it. Thank you for all the nice comments. Oh, thank you for the $10, bro. I really appreciate it. Booze and Buttsfield streams, my kind of stream. Yeah, mine too, bro. Mine too. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the... How many... Wow, thank you. I can't thank you enough. All right, so I guess you got about 5 minutes if you've got any more charts or altcoins you want to shill. If not, I'll love you and leave you. Again, I can't thank you enough for all the donations and all the just for showing up and being part of this. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for supporting the channel. And I'll just do my best to keep putting out content. Yeah, I know people love the Bitcoin memes. I do as well, of course, but they're really difficult to get around copyright. Most of them have like music in or whatever, and they're really difficult to get around that. So I do my best. AV, yeah, thanks for showing up. You'll be able to watch it on catch up if you're interested. Big Rad, yeah, like I said, that's the only altcoin I hold, of course. Thank you, AV, I appreciate it. Thanks, David. Appreciate it. Thank you, Enlightener. We're not doing bonk. Sorry. Forgive me. Yeah, we'll see. I'll see if I can find some more memes. I'll see if I can find one for tomorrow. Like I said, they're just a little bit tricky to get around copyright sometimes. Uma alt. I think I've heard of that. All right, we'll do Uma whilst I'm finishing my cigarette. I mean, how do you trade that? It's just straight up, right? And now probably straight down, probably like this. That's what I'm guessing. -4 would be the target for me. I have a terrible Sigurd voice. I don't think Sigurd would be a good idea. Maybe one day. I'll need more rum, though. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. All right, I'm going to love you and leave you guys. So I can't thank you enough. And here's to the next 5K, I guess. So cheers to all of you. And stay tuned for some more content. I will see you tomorrow for the deep dive. So until then, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I hope you're doing well in life. And until next time, take care from me. All the best.